And then from 30 May to 1 June, there is an intention to run advertisements of the bill for written public submissions. On the 9th of June, there's due to be a briefing by the content advisor on the summary of written submissions received. 23 to 24 June, oral public hearings on the bill. 4 August 2026, responses by the Department of Home Affairs and the Parliamentary Legal Services to issues raised in the submissions. The 7th of August, further legal and departmental responses on issues arising from the hearings. 11 to 18 August, committee deliberations on the bill and instruction to develop the A-list of proposed amendments. 1 September 2026, the committee considerations and approval of the A-list, and hopefully by the 8th of September, a clause-by-clause deliberation and adoption of the committee report on the bill. If we then move to slide 33, we will find our next amendment. That amendment is just really giving the date for the public hearings on the special appropriations bill. And those dates it's scheduled for the 17th of March. On slide 34, we have changes as well relating to the recently introduced gas bill. It's just basically mentioning that there has been a gas bill that has been referred on the 6th of March. It intends to repeal the Gas Act 2001 to provide for the promotion of the orderly development of the gas industry, to enhance national regulatory framework, etc., as set out on the slide. If we move to the next slide, we see that in terms of the proposed fiscal framework, we have public hearings that was taking place on the 10th and also proceeded on the 11th, and the report is scheduled to be considered and adopted by the 17th of March. We can then move over to slide 38, which is a slide pertaining to the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. We did report last week that the report was considered and adopted on the 3rd of March. What we did not state is that the report was subsequently then debated and also adopted in the House on the 5th of March 2026. The last slide that has a change on is slide number 41. It deals with the Transport Economic Council towards the bottom of the slide. Here we note that interviews were conducted from 6th to 8th of March, and the report is scheduled to be considered and adopted by the 31st of March. No new progress on petitions, apart from the fact that we did report last week that the petition of G.A. Werner was concluded. He had a petition on behalf of the community of Heidedal in Bloemfontein, and it was duly reported last week that that petition has been concluded, and therefore that slide has been removed, reducing the number of petitions before committees from 12 to 11. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, members.
Thank you very much, Ms. Burchard. Can we go to Advocate Mbata?
Good morning, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members. Currently, we've got 32 bills before NA committees. We are indicating that 18 of those bills are executive bills and 14 are private members' bills. If we go to slide number 2, looking at number 18, we recently had the introduction of the gas bill, B6 of 2026. It is a proposed Section 76 bill introduced on the 5th of March and referred to the Portfolio Committee on Electricity and Energy. The next reporting slide is slide number 8. Thank you. On slide number 8, Honorable Speaker, a new draft bill is before Parliament. It is the Special Pensions Amendment Bill. It is an executive bill to be introduced by the Minister of Finance. This bill also forms part of the 2026 legislative program. So the Bill's Office is processing the bill to be introduced before the end of the week. Slide number 9. Thank you. On slide number 9, Honorable Speaker, we are indicating the draft private members' bills that are being processed for introduction. So these bills are not yet certified. So apart from the Public Procurement Amendment Bill by Honorable Cuthbert, that bill has already been certified and the bills office has processed it and it will be introduced today. The last reporting slide is slide number 12. On slide number 12, we are indicating the 2026 legislative program, which is, it has a total number of bills to be introduced, indicated as 66, of which 47 of these bills will be new legislative proposals, and 9 of them are mandatory money bills. And maybe to also indicate that 3 of those bills have already been introduced in Parliament. And on the priority bills, we've got 10 bills and 1 bill have been introduced, which is the gas bill. The gas bill is one of the priority bills that have been indicated in this program. With your permission, Honorable Speaker, I'll hand over to Advocate van der Merwe. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Mbata. Advocate van der Merwe.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning to you and good morning to the members. The presentation that I will be doing today is to indicate what is the legislative process after introduction, so that we can, going forward, identify where possible hindrances could be. If we could go to the next slide, please. So when a bill is introduced, that is done by way of submission of the bill to the Speaker. The bill goes through a printing process, an editing process, which does take a little bit of time because it is necessary that the format that is introduced is in fact correct and something that a committee can deal with. If the member in charge of the bill, so this could be a member of Parliament or a minister, requests a first reading, that bill is then on the order paper and is not referred to a committee, or if it is referred when the House is not in session, the committee does not proceed with it until the first reading is completed. Mainly, this is a member's bill that requests first readings. I've not really seen executive bills requesting first readings. Classification, once a bill is introduced, it is referred for classification. This process is done by the joint tagging mechanism and it runs parallel to the committee process. It is thus not something that will be a hindrance to the committee work. If we can go to the next slide, please. So once a bill is introduced, it is referred to a committee. And this, I think, is where we can look at what can be sped up or what can be prioritized. So initially, there is an informal discussion on the principles of the bill. There's a briefing on the bill. If there has been a call for comments made when the intention to introduce was published, that is considered as well. Thereafter, the committee adopts a motion of desirability. In other words, is this a bill that we want to proceed with or not? Once that is done, there is then an invitation for further public comment and submissions on the substance of the bill. Now, this is something where Parliament has been receiving a lot of criticism from the courts. It is unfortunately a low-hanging fruit. If members of the public is not satisfied with the content of the bill, this is an easy target to attack in courts. So the public comments has been given a lot more attention in committees. A lot more time is given to the public to comment, and hearings have also been extended, sometimes even going into provinces for those hearings. Thereafter, we have deliberation of the bill by members, and the committee may effect amendments to the bill. Once the committee is satisfied with the content of the bill, it is formally considered, and then the committee adopts their report and the final version of the bill. So you can see that the main activity around a bill is numbers 3 and 4 of the bill, the public comment and the deliberations. That is where we are spending most of our time in committees. If we can go to the next slide, please. So just to highlight on public involvement, because that is one of the areas where we spend a lot of time. The courts have given Parliament a lot of discretion, but there's a number of factors that determines the level of engagement that is required. And this would include our own rules. So our public participation model is the model that we are working according to. The nature and importance of the legislation. The more interest there is, the more submissions we will receive, the longer the deliberations will take. The impact of the legislation on the public, the same. The bigger the impact, the more submissions you are likely to receive, the longer the deliberations. We need to keep in mind that the courts has considered time constraints a reason to speed up the process, but the courts have warned that the saving of money and time in itself does not justify inadequate opportunities for public involvement. There are also other consultations that need to take place. The Constitution has some requirements, especially where a bill deals with government funds, and then the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act. And here the House is given 60 days to respond and give comments. So that is also a period that it used to be 30 days. It is now 60 days. So that has also extended some of the time. But of course, that 60 days runs parallel with the process in the committee. So yes, it does extend a bit, but it can also be managed. If you can go to the next slide, please. I want to be very quick on this. When the committee makes amendments to the bill, it doesn't always have to be advertised. But if amendments are material or they deal with new issues, then we need to go back to the public. That, of course, adds time to the processing of the bill. However, if that amendment is necessary, this is something that cannot be avoided. We need to then make that amendment. The converse of that is that the bill goes back to the executive, or the bill is passed as is, and the executive then has to come and make those additional amendments, which takes even longer. If we can go to the next slide, I think the second reading of the bill. Once the committee has adopted its report, it then is going to the House for a second reading, and if it's passed, it goes to the next House. The next slide, please. In the second House, the process in the NCOP, specifically speaking now for two bills where the National Assembly is the first House, the process will differ between a 74, 75 and a 76 bill. 76 bills take a bit longer. The NCOP has an 8 weeks limit, but it can be extended. Or rather, it's in fact not a limit. It is at least 8 weeks on a Section 76. The provinces, of course, play a big role. Most of the negotiations and things happen in the provinces itself. They then submit negotiating mandates, which is then considered in the Select Committee. So a massive process happens outside of Parliament in the provincial legislatures when it comes to Section 74 and 76 legislation. If the NCOP makes amendments, if it's a Section 75, the National Assembly will consider. It does not have to accept those amendments. It can pass the bill unamended. Or if it is a 76 or a 74, the National Assembly will then consider those amendments. And if it does not agree, the bill will have to go to mediation, which is another 30 days in which to consider those amendments and which bill will in the end be passed. Once a bill is adopted by both houses, it is sent for assent, and the President then considers the bill and either assents to it or refers it back to Parliament. We have found that the presidency has added its own processes. It is now applying a lot more scrutiny to the bill. The presidency often sends queries about Parliament's process to make sure that the president is satisfied that Parliament did follow the correct process. This also delays assent. And I think that is then my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate Charmaine. As I indicated in the beginning of the meeting, members, we actually decided that given the issue on the timelines of the bill has been raised several times, we will just share with members the normal process that is followed currently. Within 2 weeks or 14 days, we will try and make some proposals on where we can limit and maybe have some time frames given the classification on the bill so that it becomes a guide to the various committees on how they must process the bills. It would also have an impact on how committees are making their own program of action, such as your visits in terms of your oversight, as well as study tours, so that in their scheduling, when they've got a lot of legislation, they would have to find time on how they actually balance those other activities. Simultaneously, it's also about how, in terms of the proposals, we can also look at an opportunity where applications to the House Chair and approvals are given, so that at times some committees, if they've got a lot of legislation, they can even meet during constituency periods, or if we do not have heavy sessions in terms of the House, where they can be allowed to meet during those processes. So this was just the first attempt to say we're all at one in understanding how currently we're dealing with legislation, but we'll then come back in 2 weeks' time with some proposals on how we could reduce those timelines. I'm now opening up for the discussion on the committee section and the bills office. Honorable Mkalipi.
Oh, good morning to you, Speaker, and to the colleagues on the platform. Speaker, thanks very much for this presentation. As you remember that we raised it last week to share the frustration of the time frame of processing of the bills to become the act. Thanks for the attempt, Speaker. And I also note the fact that we are saying they are still going to come back and to share with us how to move forward in order to shorten the process of processing the bills in Parliament. Maybe they must also consider to compare notes with Denmark, as I alluded to the fact that we learn from the Statutory in Denmark, they are processing the bill within a month. Maybe they can also just check with the Danish government with how do they do it. In order for us, when you get that document that we are specifying the Speaker, it will be easy. The second point that I want to make, the Speaker, is that in the presentation that the doctor that is making, if he can also share with us each and every section. For instance, in the introduction, normally, how long does it take for that bill to meet that criteria of introduction? Because she does mention that where some delays are happening. The second aspect of my question in regards to the presentation, Speaker, is the presentation in regards to the bills. There are priority bills. I want to understand what priority bills amongst the bills that are, as the presentation stipulated, that there are 66 bills currently, but amongst them there are 10 or 9, I can't remember, who are form part and parcel of the priority. How do you determine if this is a priority amongst them? Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mhlangwini.
Thank you,
Honorable-
Speaker. Thank you, Speaker, and thank you for the presentations. I just want to check on the bills, Speaker. Can the committee section or the bills please check for us where is the bill, the National State Enterprise Bill? What is the delay in finalizing this bill? And then number 2, there's a bill there that are stating, or a slide that are stating it's before Parliament. And I want to specifically check with the mine health and safety, because that bill have not made it to the committee as yet. Can we just get an elaborating what do we mean when we say it's in front of Parliament? In Parliament where? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mhlangwini. Honorable Swart.
Morning, Speaker, and morning to your colleagues. And I think this is a very useful process, and I'm very grateful for the input when it comes to the timelines of processing bills. And I look forward to further engagements. And I think it all depends on the complexities of the bill. In my experience, there have been, for example, very complex bills as opposed to very straightforward bills, and even the possibility of short committee bills to expedite the process. And I think, Speaker, as you've correctly indicated, it is very important for portfolio committees to balance their oversight work with their legislative work, but focusing a lot on urgent bills, particularly where there is a constitutional court deadline, or if it is a bill in the national interest that is urgently requires passing. So, Chair, I look forward to engaging further with the process. I do appreciate the one input about Denmark 1 month, and it will be interesting to know how they process that in a short period. But I do, in my experience, it is often once you've had the public hearings, in members of parliament engaging with the department and saying, we as parliament are the ones that draft legislation, we the ones that pass it. We appreciate the department's inputs, and that often is a very useful input, and it can take a very long period to reach agreement or to finalize bills. So Speaker, just from my perspective, I just welcome this engagement, and thank you for that.
Thank you. I am not seeing any other hand. Can I then ask the team to respond on the issues that have been raised by members? One relating to what do we mean when we say the bill is in front of Parliament, but also what is the priority bill and how is it determined or classified that is a priority? And also the specific question is where the National State Enterprise Bill is. Can I get the team from committees and Bill's office rather, to respond?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will respond to the first question, which is what do we mean by a priority bill and who determines that? I think in what has been shared on the documents, we have the 2026 legislative program that we have received from the leader of government business. So if we check in that program on the list of the bills, some of the bills have been indicated as priority bills. So those are the bills that we were reporting on as priority bills. They are on that list that we have received. And the second question was, where is the National State Enterprise Bill? The National State Enterprise Bill lapsed. It was B1 of 2024. It lapsed and it was revived on the 25th of July 2024 and then referred to the Committee on Planning Monitoring and Evaluation. So the bill is still before that committee. So committee section maybe can give a comprehensive report as to how far are they with the processing of that bill. And the last one was the mine health. The mine health bill, which is a draft bill before Parliament, a JR 201, which is the intention to introduce the bill, was published on the 29th of October 2024 on the ATC, and the bill was never certified for introduction, so it never reached Parliament, but the draft bill was referred to the Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources. And I think that's all from our side that we can respond to. The rest, I'll give Ms. Bochart an opportunity to also respond. Thank you, Speaker.
Ms. Bochart, if you have got any response. But colleagues, if I can take you to slide 23 on the National State Enterprise Bill, from the current status, there's really not much that has been done with that bill. And I will actually raise the matter with the House Chair on committees to engage the chairperson in this regard, because what is saying here is from 2 to 6 February, the SOE forecast oversight visits and committee to schedule. There's nothing that tells us how the committee is dealing with that legislation. So next week, we will give you feedback after the House Chair on committees has engaged the chairperson of that committee with regards to this bill. Honorable Reddy?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I don't think the question has been answered. The question was, how is a bill identified as a priority bill? What is the criteria? The response we got was, it is indicated as such on the parliamentary program. Now, that doesn't answer the question. So I think basically what is being sought here, and I'd also like to know this, is what will elevate a bill to make it a priority bill? What is the criteria that's used to determine that? It can't be a thumbsuck exercise. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. Let me just indicate when the executive brings the legislation to Parliament, they would say we've got 40 bills that we will bring to Parliament in this current year. However, out of the 40, 10 of those are priority. That could be the priority because either there's a constitutional deadline on the legislation. That's one. Secondly, it could be in relation to the department feeling that there's an important matter that we need to resolve that requires a legislation such as, on local government general amendment bill, which might have an impact on either the local government elections where the Minister of Local Government may actually request that this bill, among other bills, must be given a priority. So those are particularly from the executive, that would be the request that the executive will make in terms of the priority, why this bill must be prioritized above others. It could also be a technical bill, for instance, that might relate to issues of trade, but it requires a department to do certain things in terms of their, legislation that will facilitate. For instance, if you look at some of the technical bills on phytosanitary measures and so on, depending on the trading arrangements that they may be having. So in as far as the executive, sometimes that request for prioritization of legislation will be articulated as why this is of a priority. I would ask Advocate Mbata or Advocate Charmaine if they may want to add, or the NA table.
Yeah, I think before they come in, may I just make a quick comment? Because
Yes.
yeah. Chair, I hear you, and I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but it opens up a possibility which we must avoid in Parliament. So I want to suggest that we develop a policy around how a bill is determined to be priority. Because from what you've said, one, it's time bound. Secondly, it's determined by circumstances. So later on, you don't want to be accused of being selective and choosing certain bills because of political pressure or any other reason. But you have a policy that you can always go back to and say, this is the reason why this bill has been determined to be priority. I'm just making that proposal, Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the proposal. Honorable Kalipi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, we appreciate your response, but however, is not satisfactory. Because, Speaker, if there's a problem in the society, it must be addressed through the law. If there's a gap in the law, it must be addressed through the new bill. So therefore, it's so very difficult to understand how do you now come and be dictated by the executive to say these are the priority bills. So therefore, I'll add more comprehensive and more information on this one. So as Parliament, as a working Parliament, to have teeth to bite instead of rubber stamping what the executive is dictating to us. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Well, Honorable Kalipi, I think it would be, I understand your concern, but it would also be important that maybe you can make a proposal like Honorable Reddy has indicated, what other things we would look at, because that's not only from the executive, because even with private members bill, a private member can also indicate to Parliament to say, in his or her view, this bill must be prioritized. So I was just explaining, and that's why I was saying other members should come in. So it goes both ways. It could be a committee, it could be a private member, it could be the executive. But I think what Honorable Reddy was trying to guide and make a proposal to say, while that may be understood, maybe let's have a broader framework that can be understood by all of us to say, whether it's a private member, whether it's an executive, whether it's a committee section, at least it must satisfy these elements so that there can be appreciation from all of us on the classification of priority or non-priority.
Yes, Speaker, I agree. I agree
Yes.
entirely. Because now, if the executive is the one who is initiating some of the bills, and the private members' bills are not a part and parcel of the priority list, so it means those private members' bills are not prioritized. So therefore, we must have some guidance from Parliament on how to deal with such issues. Thanks, Speaker.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Honorable Kalipi. As I indicate that there has been instances where members and committees, because bills can come from members, can come from the committees, and they can come from the executive. We've had instances in the past where even private members have indicated on their private bill the agency and the prioritization. But I do appreciate the concern that has been raised that let's have a framework that will be agreed by all of us to say these are the measures that we all need to take into consideration about how we could elevate a bill to be fitting what we call priority. Honorable Hlangwini.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I think the Honorable Van der Merwe have given us a good presentation that we must use. I propose, Speaker, maybe perhaps for our next meeting, that the staff maybe can do for us a table of all of the bills and then also allocate as to where are the bill currently in terms of the time and then also the end process of the bill, so that at least we can trace these bills, because the one, I mean, if I didn't raise the issue now of the one that is in before planning and monitoring, that bill would have fallen through the cracks. The one as well of mine, health and safety have never made it to our committee. You just have an executive that forever promised we have a bill, we have a bill, we have a bill, but the bill have never made it. We have never seen it with our naked eyes. So I think we ought to have a tracking mechanism that will assist us as well when we are coming back to report in this meeting, than to just have a blanket approach or blanket report in front of Parliament and all of that. I think we ought to put now time frames to these things. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hlangwini, and thanks to all members for the engagement on this issue. We now go to the consideration of the parliamentary program. Honorable Doug Moore, if you can walk us through, mindful of the time.
No, thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings to colleagues on the platform. As we know, we have the President in the National Assembly today. That's the only item. And then going to next week, we have to, on Tuesday, we have to do the motion to review and amend the Parliamentary Villages Management Board Act. That's essentially just to provide more time for that. Statements and just to indicate the two debates that we'll be having there, International Women's Day, which we've had to schedule, and because of the postponement the other day in the Dome, and then the Human Rights Day debate, as well as decisions of questions on those draft resolutions. Then Wednesday, the 18th, is just questions for oral reply, the governance cluster. And then on Thursday, I think it's just important to remind members here, especially as we're aware, questions to the Deputy President, but then Speaker, as you know, you've granted the request by Honourable Mani for an urgent matter of national public importance, the escalating crisis in the Middle East. So that debate will happen after the Deputy President has responded to those questions. And then if we can just go to the 24th, I just want to focus there. As we are aware, we will be considering the fiscal framework as the first item and the revenue proposals. And then after that, we'll be dealing with the statement by the Minister of Electricity and Energy on the eradication of load reduction, and then those two other reports, which then takes us just a reminder, and I think it links to the point that we've just discussed, that the committee chairpersons will be meeting on Wednesday, the 25th of March. And I think that's also a forum where these issues of the bills can be discussed. On Wednesday, the 25th, we have questions for oral reply. And then Thursday, we will be having those mini plenaries, 2 mini plenary sessions. Those topics still need to be confirmed. And then we go to the last week, Speaker, of the first term, and you will see that on Tuesday there are committees, and then we've also included there on Wednesday, the 1st of April, that IPU webinar, the International Parliamentary Union's webinar on AI literacy in parliaments. I think as per the request of the Chief Whips Forum, we've also put it physically in the program to elevate its importance and encourage members to attend. And then on Thursday, it's a constituency day before Good Friday. And that brings us to the end of the first term. Speaker, I'm not sure whether you want me to also deal with the draft second term program.
Yes, if you can please do the second term program as well, the draft.
Thank you very much. Just apologies if there's any background noise. I'm in the Good Hope Chamber and the police are doing a dog search here. You might hear a dog in the background. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry, Speaker, just a clarity quickly. We don't have these emailed to us, the updated programs. It's not in the email sent unless I've been removed from that. If that could please be emailed to us so we could be talking to the document we have in our emails. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. Can the team please take note of that and email to Honorable Reddy?
Okay, thanks for that, Speaker. Yeah, so as we know, the 21st of April, given the request of the Appropriations Committee, we are now dealing with all of those matters on the Special Appropriation Bill, the first reading debate, second reading debate, and then also the consideration of the Division of Revenue Bill. So all of that is now 21st of April, but the rest of that week, and that's why I don't need to go into detail, is essentially committees and oversight. And then just to say that what's important is Friday, the 24th of April, again, we've inserted there the members' training, which will focus on the role of political structures and committees and parliamentary ethics and codes of conduct. That's a hybrid session. If we go on to the next week, and I'm not going to go through every week. Again, this week is pretty much a committees and oversight week. You can go to the next week. Yes, stop there, please. Yeah, and then we start getting back in terms of week 13 from the 5th of May into statements, motions with and without notice, and the debate on Freedom Day. I just want to show the members one of the slides where we start programming the budget debate. So if we can just go on there. Yeah, okay, thank you. Just to give you an example here, on Tuesday, the 12th of May, which is when we start dealing with the debates on the various budget votes. We, on every day except a Thursday when we have caucuses in the morning, for instance, this day, we'll be dealing with 3 sessions. Okay, if we could just stop on, we'll be dealing, say, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 12, we'll do a vote, and then a second vote, and then we have the afternoon session immediately after lunch, two debates there, and then we have again 2 debates from 4:45 to 6:30. But on a Thursday, members should note that we won't be having these sessions because we'll be having caucus, and also to note all of these debates on the votes are going to be hybrid. That's just an important note to make. So, Speaker, I don't want to take the meeting's time by going on for too much. I think essentially, as we all know, the second term is going to be really focused on dealing with the budget votes and they will be hybrid, and they will happen as I've explained. I think I'm going to stop there, and I hope that by this stage Mr. Reddy has received his email. Thank you.
I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And just to indicate to members that we've also tried to make sure that at least all the budget debates are in venues that have got broadcasting facilities. You'll note that we're using two venues, M46 and the Good Hope Chamber.
Yes, Speaker, sorry, I didn't use more time, but I think members should also look at the training program for the whole year. We did raise it the last time, and you will see there's a bit more detail on all the training that will be offered to members during the course of the year. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dagmore. It's open for discussion, honorable members. Honorable Zumula, Honorable Kalipi.
Thank you, Speaker. Greetings, Speaker, colleagues, and everyone on the platform. Mr. Dagmo, for me, the 8th, it is motions that will be sponsored by the different parties, 8th of May. Now, normally on the program, it does indicate when there will be a plenary after those motions are debated, in the event that there is a decision to be taken from those party motions. Now, for the motions that will be debated on the 8th, when then do you foresee that a decision on those motions will be made, given that it needs to be a plenary? Because on the program, what I'm picking up is that from the following week, it will be the mini plenaries for the budget votes. Thank you.
Honorable Kalipi, followed by Honorable Nkwankwa and Honorable Reddy.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, yesterday in a Chiefs Forum, we have an extensive discussion regards to the program. The bone of contention was on Tuesday, the 17th, but we all agreed that no, let us not start at 10 because there are committees that have scheduled their meetings. But what I want to raise with you, Speaker, is what Honorable Reddy was raising before even the meeting started. The reason why we have a packed program for Tuesday is because of the conditions in the dome. So, Speaker, if you can address that, if those things are not going to be haunting us, as a result, you must leave the meeting, must postpone the meeting, because it comes back and haunt us as members of parliament. As a result, we are going to have a very, very long program because of the things that are not sorted out in the dome. That is the only thing that I want to comment on. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Kalipi. Honorable Nkwankwa. Honorable Reddy, we'll come back to Honorable Nkwankwa.
Oh, no, I'm covered, Speaker. Sorry, I had a connectivity issue. I'm covered, Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Reddy.
Yes, Honorable Kalipi has covered me on my first issue. I want to go into Tuesday, and I want us to note that it's quite a loaded program. In fact, if it goes as it normally goes, we should be finishing around 9 o'clock. So I think it's best that if you look at the motion, for example, where the amendment to the Parliamentary Villages Management Board Act, is this a debate? It doesn't indicate whether there'll be any debate, discussion, or anything. It's just a motion there. I'm not sure whether there's a discussion or whether it's just for noting. Maybe we should include that as well. Then when you go to the mini plenaries, the mini plenary topics, there's no reason why we should be waiting for Friday's topics on Wednesday next week or Tuesday. I think we are all representing parties here, and I think there should be a notice that comes out from the table today, giving a firm deadline as to the date and the time of the debate. And that can be done even tomorrow. Tomorrow should be the deadline. And all these parties, it's ANC, Al Jamaa, ANC again, and the DA that they should submit the topics by Friday, checked by the table, and Monday we should all get those topics so that we can be in readiness for that debate. Chairperson, I'm also glad, and I want to thank the staff for including the training program now as part of the actual program of Parliament. And it's not just kept as one page somewhere. By doing that, we are able to ensure that members can prioritize this and diarize these training programs because we can miss them. Finally, Chairperson, I think as programming committee, we must become very aware, and all of us that are seated here, because we work with the program of Parliament and we're working with our members in our caucuses, we observe that there are clashes that constantly take place. I mean, there are oversight visits, there are ad hoc committees, all these things, meetings taking place while plenaries are in session, where important matters are being discussed. I don't want us to send a message, Speaker, that some committees are more important than others, or that some sessions you don't need all members to be present. Yesterday, somebody made a comment in the Chief Whip's Forum. Well, if one of your members is involved in an oversight visit, just put somebody else there. It can't be like that. Then it means that Parliament has become just a stage act, as it were, where we just put faces and prepared speeches are being read. Let's avoid that, Speaker. And to avoid that, we need to ensure that our program factors in everything, every activity that's taking place in Parliament and even outside of Parliament that may affect the program of Parliament. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. I am very happy that you are so strict about the submission of topics because your party has also been a culprit a bit on this one. So I'm happy now you are repentant.
I'll debate this. No. I'm sorry.
No. Let's not debate, Honorable Reddy. I'm just saying that I'm happy that you are repented now and you are very firm to make sure that we all meet the deadline.
Now you become a pastor.
Honorable Tlangwini.
Thank you, Speaker. I was covered largely, Speaker, but I also think we need to address as well the issue of sound. It's terrible. Yesterday was extremely terrible. I think we need to address it and find a solution for it because these things, we are speaking to the nation as a people's parliament, and if the sound goes out like that, imagine on national TV, how will it sound? So please, if they can also resolve the issue of the sound. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tlangwini. Honorable Papane.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Good morning to you and colleagues. Honorable Speaker, I just want to add on what Honorable Mkhalipi was talking about, the issue of the dome, the icons. Yesterday during the sitting, Mr. Kaso called the official from Parliament because on other areas of the dome, on other side of the dome, it's really very hot. The icons are not, there are no icons there that covers that area. So I went around the dome to make sure that I show the official where there is a need for improvement or even putting some icons, whether on top or also from that side of the speaker facing the front side of the dome. So that was promised that it will be done. And also the issue of sound. I raised that with them and they said they will try to fix that. So on the issue of the topics, we have never delayed with submitting topics for mini plenaries. As the ANC, we are always on time. I will not repeat what was said earlier. I'll just keep it to my own party. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Dagmo.
Thanks, Speaker. Just a few quick
Are you now responding?
I wanted to ask if I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, let me just check if there's no other member who would like to make a comment before you come back. Okay, you can go ahead.
Thanks, Speaker. In regard to Honorable Zungula, and the 8th of May, we will definitely, in terms of the second term program, schedule those discussions arising from the mini plenaries. As you can see, it's pretty much of a skeleton program at the moment, but clearly we will program those and hopefully at the next meeting be able to give Honorable Zungula and the meeting a sense as to when those will be dealt with. The PAC program on Tuesday, and also clarity, the Parliamentary Villages motion is literally just a motion that will be moved by the Chief Whip, no debate, and it's likely that members would agree to, pushing the deadline out a bit so that that important matter can be dealt with, but it's not going to take time. The issue of the topics have been dealt with, and then I think Honorable Bapane and others, have raised the issue of sound. The only point I would like to make, Speaker, and I know that you are aware of this issue and the meeting, that the only way to move away from diesel would be to engage in a proper discussion with the City of Cape Town so that a transformer can supply the dome directly. Obviously, those issues are discussed at other committees, but I think, in my view, that's going to help with the sound issue as well. But I'm going to stop there. Thanks so much, Speaker.
Thank you. STP, I think you'd want to give some input on the dome issues.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning to honorable members. Indeed, on the points raised by Honorable Dagmo, there was remedies effected yesterday on the afternoon, and that effect on the absence of the functioning of the aircons affected a significant part of the dome. That has since been attended according to the technical report I received yesterday. Its knock-on impact, Madam Speaker, was equally on the sound. So when there is stability on the power supply arising from the engines, then it has less impact on the sound. So the team this morning is also on site to make sure that they run the test before today's proceedings. And we'll monitor the situation update. Thanks.
Thank you, SCP. Honorable Nkwangwa.
Speaker, I'm probably out of order, but bear with me, please. It's because we might run out of time without raising this matter. Has Parliament made arrangements to attend that helicopter's funeral? I haven't had any announcements insofar as that is concerned. What is the story? Thank you.
Honorable Nkwangwa, as far as I know at the moment, there is no arrangement that Parliament has made. And it's consistent with what has been the procedure before, that for former members, really, it would be out of members, how would I call it? Possibilities for them to be able to attend. At the moment, there is none. There has also not been any discussion from parties to say, how do we deal with issues such as, the one that we are raising for all former members, and how would Parliament determine how we attend, whether the member was a presiding officer or an ordinary member or a chairperson. And I think those are some of the issues that, as part of the parliamentary handbook, which we are working on, which will be for discussion by all parties, it's a matter that has to be addressed so that we're not accused of inconsistencies on how we deal with such matters going forward. I also want to appreciate the concerns that have been raised by members on how we need to manage our own processes, particularly meeting the timelines on mini plenaries so that members are able to get topics on time to enable, preparedness on their part, and also how to create space for some of the recommendations that may be coming from the mini plenaries to the House for a resolution or any form of decision. So we've taken note of those issues. We've also taken note on the issues that relate to the program and how collectively all of us can try and make sure that we and manage the program such that it's not too packed for members. It's something that we have to continuously work on, and dealing with some of the issues that have been raised on improving the conditions of the dome. Secretary has responded to some of those, but will continue to ensure that those issues are addressed, honorable members. Thank you very much. We now move to the minutes. Minutes have been circulated, and I trust that members have read. And I would then ask and table if there are any corrections that members would like to point out on our minutes as part of corrections, if there are any. I don't see any hand. Can I get a member who will move for the adoption of our minutes?
I'll move, Speaker. I move for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Reddy. Can I get a seconder?
Seconder, Speaker, thanks.
Thank you very much,
Darkmo.
Honorable Darkmo, for seconding. Let me ask Secretary to Parliament if there are any matters arising.
Madam Speaker, we've dealt with matters arising. It was the villages committee. We're extending that next week, Tuesday. The issue of the Electoral Commission bill has been dealt with, and the report we gave on the legislative process. So all matters have been dealt with. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaso. Honorable Mkalipi.
No, Speaker, I raised two issues last week. The issue of DSG, our member on Standing Committee on Intelligence, and then that is not sorted. The issue of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Service is not sitting since the ad hoc started. And we raised it, it has not resolved. At least the Police Committee is sitting now. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Mkalipi. On the issue, it's not that we have not dealt with it. On the issue of the your member in terms of the Intelligence Committee, that is going to be the communication between the Office of the Speaker and the party, because I think that's the level at which that matter needs to be engaged. It's not that we've forgotten it. So I just want to assure you that you will receive communication from the Speaker's office, but we didn't think it was for the issue of the programming in terms of the response to that. Indeed, Honorable Frolic House Chairperson has engaged the two chairpersons of those committees to really impress upon them that work in the committees can't stop because of their participation. They can elect acting chairperson who will continue with the program of the committee. And I'm happy that you have noted that on the police, there's been some movement. Again, I will personally engage with the chair of the Justice Committee to express our concern in that regard. Thank you very much, Honorable Mkalipi. Honorable Swart.
Speaker, I'm sorry to come in at this last minute, and I appreciate you raising the issue of the Justice Committee, but it's not only members, it's the staff of the Justice Committee that are also involved in the ad hoc committee. So I'd ask you just to look into that as well. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Swart. We will follow up on that matter. Thank you. Honorable members, thank you very much for your participation in this programming committee, and the meeting is adjourned until the next time, and all the best for your party caucuses meeting. Thank you.